today we're talking about core values,
Yes,
right?
we are.
I think I think when we started way back, well, started way back again. If you know our story, we didn't really set out, right, to have
We did not.
this business, and so even vision and mission, we didn't have anything, right?
We didn't have a vision and we didn't have a mission. Period. That's the
Well, it wasn't
that's
written anywhere, but we did have a vision, I
I mean,
guess.
we eventually did. Like, I feel like it, as far as visions and missions grow, we started, but we didn't really set out to say, to be the biggest, outsourcing company in the Philippines in 5 years time, something like that. We had one probably, but it was maybe like an unspoken, what's our vision?
But then again, so we started with that first. So after a few years, we started with the vision mission, but then we didn't actually sit down and come up with our core values. And I think at that point, what I realized is at that point we're already, I think, 4 5 years in the
It was,
business, and
yes.
I felt like there was already something in there. It's just that we didn't sit down and put them into words. So what happened with us was that it was already happening before we even actually set out to stand for those core values. But Franz, what do you think are what's the importance of core values for your companies?
Well, so I think the only reason that we didn't crumble and fall when we said that we had core values in the beginning that wasn't expressly written down, because
Mm.
the majority of the management and the day-to-day operations was managed strictly between the two of us, and the two of us,
Oh,
as you
true.
say, are aligned, right? So importance wise, I feel like the bigger a company grows, the bigger in scale, the more that you now have to translate the values and mission on paper, clearly defined, so that the whole organization is aligned, right? So you can't say, let's push for more sales this year, and then the organization thinks the total other way and say, uh, focus on customer care or retention, right? That's so people will be
Hmm.
doing different things and trying to achieve different goals. And while they're both good goals for the company, if they're not
Hmm.
aligned, then that's a problem.
Yeah, I think just to second that, just defining your core values teaches you how to do things and what things to prioritize for,
Yes, exactly.
what things to prioritize. I think that's the number one thing um, that I noticed with us is
Mm.
after we sat down and and we'll talk about how it actually came about with Virtua. After we sat down and had those values and actually placed them on the website and everything, all of the other stuff that we've been doing, I feel like
Yes.
we had some sort of direction, like more of a direction.
Like we knew what we were
Like
doing.
yeah, no, well,
No.
partly, right? But no. Like we had a direction. Like when we do our decision making, I feel like everyone understands why we're making those
XY
decisions,
decisions.
and it's mostly
Exactly.
because yeah, and it's mostly because everyone set out these are our values, and then we presented it to everyone, even the vendors that we have, we presented our values. Do you remember with attorney De Castro?
Yes. Oh, I do
Yeah,
remember that.
during
I,
that
I do
meeting we
remember
were,
that.
yeah.
The time when people say, "Oh, can you tell me a little bit about Virtua?" And then we were, before that, we were more like, Virtua is this, Virtua is that. But now that you have, something to look forward to, it's like we're talking about Virtua and what we're aiming to do. I do remember that. But you do a much
Yeah,
better job of it.
yeah.
Not to mention, hey, no,
I think attorney De Castro was really impressed with us just because we had the same. So one of our core values in
uh,
Virtua is growth.
Yes.
which is, personal development, along those lines. And so our lawyers, was actually very happy to hear that, because that's also one of their values.
Their current
So you
values.
see, even with the
Yeah.
suppliers, yeah, even with the vendors or the suppliers that we have, we try as much as possible to have people that at least have the same values as us. And these are things that, behind closed doors, these are things that during decision making sometimes form a debate, right? I don't know if you remember when, we were, one of our values is inclusivity as well. We were talking about, so if one of our customers, one of our
Yes.
clients wasn't, for inclusivity, what happens then? And so we'll dive into that. We'll dive into that in a little bit here,
Yes.
a little bit here. But let me first off tell you a story first of how it came about with us, because I think
Yes.
most
Also,
companies didn't say. Go ahead.
no, no, no. I am all for the story. I imagine um this is something that I might be familiar with, but also can we take the time to notice how
We're
coordinated we
matching.
are? It's one of
We
so
did
so
not talk
just
about
just
this.
for everybody out there, we don't really say this is what you're wearing. Maybe somewhere down the line that's something that we should be doing, but it's kind of scary to think this is what you
and
wore.
and it's virtuous colors.
And it's virtual scholars.
But
Yeah, exactly. Why not? Why not? Okay, but I'm ready for
yes.
story time. I'm ready for story time.
Um, So earlier I mentioned that, when we set out, and if you've been listening to, our episodes, especially if you've been a fan of the outsourcing and more episodes, we mentioned that our story happened, like virtual happened, like it fell
On
onto
our
our laps,
laps.
right? On our laps. There you go. Thank you so much. Yeah, it fell on our laps. And so it just happened. We're just, okay, you need a team? We'll go ahead and do a team. And then a few years after, I think 4 or 5 years, actually, yeah, we sat down. Well, our friends, our marketing people, helped us, narrow down our vision mission. And then it was only even like a year after where we actually had core values and placed them on our website. And during that time, between the vision and mission and then the core values, what happened was we were already a growing team. I think we're already, nearing 100 at that point.
Five
If I'm
years?
not mistaken, yeah, around that
Yes, that
number.
was that was around that
And
time.
yeah, and so at that point, I felt like the culture already existed, the values already existed, and so it was high time to just put them down on paper. And how we did that was we sent out a survey to everyone, to all employees, even if you're doing the accounts, you're, working internal. We set out a survey for all of the employees, and it had, 6 questions. The first question was, well, it was one question asked 3 times, and then 3 more questions after that. The first question was,
Three
what do we
ways.
stand for? Yeah, what's unique about Virtua? What do you like most about working for Virtua? And then the last 3 was, all the negative side of it. And the reason why we ask in that survey both sides, like the what do you want us to be, as well as what you don't want us to be, just so we can make sure that we know what we want, like, that it's clear. It gives you more clarity, because okay, this is up until here. Like, even if you want work and life balance, like, right,
Yeah. No,
whatever it is.
you know what's important, just in case. And I understand the
Mhm.
story part because you're saying up until what? Oddly enough, the more that you grow, what it is not enough of a definition. You have to also clearly
Mhm.
define what it is not, because it's like I want to be fun but not slutty, or you want to be you know I want to be
Yeah.
I want to have a party, but I don't want to wreck at by the end of the night. So like
Yeah.
this is the boundaries of who we are supposed to be, which, as you said earlier, clearly defined.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And so after we did that survey, what happened next was in our strategic planning, I think for that year, we all sat down, Francis, me, well, Francis in London, Me and all of the leaders, HR, ops, I think at that point, IT was also there. We all sat down, and finance, we all sat down and look at all of the survey answers, and then looked for common themes.
Mm-hmm.
And once we were able to identify all of the common themes, that's where it hit us. Because the answers from this survey are coming from everyone. At that point, Francis and I didn't feel like it was going to be a top down decision. We felt like everyone already knew what we stand for, and so we just really wanted to get their input from there.
You're not wrong. I think a lot of times when we decided organization,
Mm.
then I mean there some things have to be a top down decision, marching orders, for
Yeah, so
example, saying what the general direction is, but you can't just say go that way, right? And expect everybody to say, okay, go that way. There was that funny joke I heard one time when that somebody said like, walk this way, and then started walking this way. And then everybody, okay, started
yeah,
walking the same way.
I know this joke.
Yeah. But because sometimes people do tend to think different things. You can be in a room of 10 very, very smart people. People will interpret things differently, right? So if you say let's go left, like the question says how to go left, how fast to go left, how hard to go left, or do you take your time, go hard, go all in, or just baby steps, right? You realize that's there's a the more that you talk now, it's the same reason why I now refuse to talk to people, because I realize everything that you say can be interpreted so many different ways, as opposed to just the two of us.
so
Because
so you just gave up and don't want to talk to
I
people.
was, I just stopped talking. but but isn't it that kind of important? Um, because your group now, right? Your group now
Mm.
is supposed to be carrying, uh, for lack of better terms, your will or the will of the company, right? And
Yeah.
you have to be sure that they understand it. You want to be sure that when you say that the approach is tsunami like you did the butterfly step. Yeah, you did the butterfly step, but but
Mm-hmm.
but it echoes in bigger waves, like much bigger than you could actually have done it with your own two hands. Like, I'd like to think of it that way, that I couldn't have made that strong of an impact by myself, because it was the other people who carried the will forward. I thank you. Wow.
As I was going to say, very well said. Like, very well said.
Well, I know when I said something very well, so just to save you the trouble. No,
Okay.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I
Okay,
was thinking. Anyway, go on.
no, no, no. So yeah, because as the company grows, it's not only going to be you who's going to be doing everything. It's going to
Exactly.
be a team effort, right? Like that. That's what management is defined. It's or leadership is defined. It's um achieving results through people. And you want to make sure that how your people are achieving results is also based on the values that all of you, even if it's at the very start, even if it's top down, or at least everyone has buy-in for all of
Yes.
those values. And this is how we're prioritizing. This is how we want to do things.
Yes.
So yeah. Yeah, I think for us, especially since we've had our values for the last a year and a half, what I feel really changed for us is even the fundraising that we do. So usually for our anniversary, we do some
Anniversary.
fundraising. Yeah, yeah. We try as much as possible that it's still connected to the core values that we have.
Yes.
So I haven't really said all of our core values, but just so everyone knows, it's growth, integrity, excellence, work or balance, and inclusivity. So inclusivity is a big part of what Francis and I want in
Please,
virtual.
somebody edit what I just did and put the values the way I did. So I also wanted to share one little anecdote that I carry around. So it's not a personal experience, but one that I felt strongly resonated with how I see these core values happen. So one of our clients, this is an anecdote from one of our clients, wherein because inclusivity is also big
Mm.
on their own values. One time they signed up a client, and then it was small voices at first,
Mm-hmm.
but we found out that this client who was based in the US signed up another client who was far right leaning. So they're anti women's rights, anti LGBTQ, and
Mm-hmm.
pro conservative, pro anti abortion, all of that stuff, right? And to be clear, that clashes so badly with your current values, but it was, I found it was
Mm.
also a big contract. But it only took like the voices of a few people, especially the ones who initially, like after closing the sale, was processing the order, etc. And then they found out, this is, but do we want to work with this? And it was barely a week's time that that they announced, we're not working with this company. We're canceling the contract. We're canceling the sale. Now, I think that aligns with our topic today, because if you think about it,
Mm-hmm.
um, they chose to align with their values. Because again,
Yes.
company growth, it means like if it's a big account, right? If it's a big account, it doesn't matter. Like, do you compromise on? It's okay. They're not us, right? But their values don't align with yours, and they chose to align with their values and said, sorry, we can't work with you. And I thought that was a very telling way that a company can live by what they promise. No, there's no bending, no compromise, and maybe someday we'll run into something similar, and we'll be able to make that kind of decision as well.
Yeah. I mean, I hope not, right? I hope not. But
I hope we don't.
because it's gonna
Yes.
be hard. It's gonna be hard because this is already client, right? I think it's very brave of them to do that. It's already client.
Yes.
It's already revenue coming in. Especially,
It was
I can't
signed.
remember because I remember this. I remember this company, but I can't remember if it was one of the if it was one of the startups that we were working with, or it was already a big company that we
It
like
wasn't.
one of
It
our
wasn't.
big clients already.
It wasn't startup.
It was a
So
bigger one, right?
yeah. So
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think I know what you mean.
So
Like, if you're a startup, would you have
yeah,
been willing to bend over? But I think
yeah, I
startups
know,
don't.
right?
Do startups have values that?
Of yes, they do.
I'm kidding. You know
I think
what?
most of the yeah, sorry, yeah, I think most of the time startups, especially the ones who um are most of the time like guided because we see this right like there's incubators there's
Mm,
and they start off with the vision mission and the core values and then you also have books about how to start a business and all of these things are always like basic you need to have this. So as a startup, are you like can you imagine you're just trying to get your business off the ground and to say no to a client?
yes.
Like
That is
right? Like
so. That is
firing a
so
client, like
hard. Yeah.
that is so especially now the other question is are you brave enough to say no if it means it's gonna affect
Your
the
bottom
livelihood of
line.
the people that
Mm-hmm.
yeah that no the livelihood of the people that you're with that you have in your
Mm,
in your company because you're already saying no to revenue
yes.
or at least profit at this point, right? So I think it's very brave. But then again, once you do understand and you do um, implement or you implement what you stand for, and you outwardly express that through I mean this is one way of doing it, right? Like making sure that all of your clients all of you are aligned, your vendors you're aligned as well. Once you
Yep.
do
No.
take that stand, people will respect you for it.
It is very. No. I completely agree. So I think that's exactly why we say values are important, because nobody's going to look at you and say you're crazy for turning down that goal. You say, look at my values and tell me why I chose to make that decision.